They burned 1,000 acres of corn in one night. I stood there watching flames devour 3 generations of my family's work while a white Tesla sped away, and for a few long minutes I honestly believed my life was over. That wasn't even the worst part, because this wasn't an accident. It was a declaration of war signed in smoke and diesel fire. My name is Jackson Hartwell. Jack to anyone who matters, and I'm the 3rd generation of Hartwells to work this patch of Nebraska dirt. My grandfather homesteaded it in 1923, back when a handshake sealed a deal and neighbors didn't sue each other over the smell of corn husks. My wife, Sarah, passed from cancer 2 years ago, and working this land became my way to keep breathing. Emma, my oldest, is off at college studying ag business. Tyler, my youngest, can run a combine smoother than most adults. This farm isn't just dirt, it's the marrow of who we are. Then Brenda showed up. Brenda Thornfield. Fresh off a Malibu divorce, dripping in money she didn't earn rolling around in a Tesla like it was a chariot from heaven. Within 6 months, she crowned herself queen of the local HOA, a homeowners association for 37 cookie-cutter villas that sprouted on the edge of my land like weeds. She wore power like perfume, and promised her little flock that she'd eliminate rural eyesores to protect property values. I was her #1 eyesore. The first shot came in a certified letter, agricultural odor violation. According to Brenda, my century-old practice of spreading manure violated her neighbor's constitutional right to breathe clean air. $500 a day if I didn't stop. I called her up, trying to be civil. "Lady, this was farmland long before your villas existed." She purred back in that yoga instructor voice. "We're curating a lifestyle community here. Your agrarian activities are incompatible with our investment portfolio." Agrarian activities. Like I was running a meth lab, not growing food. Here's the kicker. Some paper pusher screwed up years back and my property got pulled into their HOA boundaries. The old owner signed without reading. That meant Brenda's rules, no matter how insane, were legally binding on me. Suddenly, I was trapped inside a suburban dictatorship I never voted for. From then on, it was war by inches. Brenda showing up with a measuring stick and a photographer declaring my corn was too tall at 8 feet 4 inches. Her husband caught sneaking through my soybeans at 2 a.m. with surveying equipment. The constant certified letters stamped with seals she probably bought at a craft store. My neighbors rallied behind me, the Murphys with their dairy herd, the Kowalskis from the hardware store, but Brenda didn't care. She smelled money. My land was the missing piece in her financial survival, and she was willing to bulldoze history to get it. Then, one night I watched headlights glide silently across my bean rows. A Tesla, creeping like a ghost, wheels grinding down $3,000 worth of crops before it buried itself axle-deep in mud. I confronted her the next morning while she power-washed mud off her precious car. "What the hell were you doing in my field last night?" She didn't even blink. "Compliance measurements." Then she smirked and said, "Perhaps you should grow shorter vegetables." That smirk almost did me in. Insurance wouldn't cover the damage. Intentional destruction isn't insured, they said. I drove home that night feeling hollowed out. I stared at the wreckage of my soybeans and thought maybe she's right. Maybe I'm the relic here clinging to dirt in a world that doesn't care. Maybe the smart thing is to sell, cut my losses, walk away. I could hear Sarah's voice in my head telling me to rest, to let go. For a moment, I wanted to. But then I remembered the box of her research in the basement. Sarah had been studying agricultural law for her master's before cancer took her. I dug through those dusty files like a desperate man, and there it was, Nebraska's Right to Farm Act. Ironclad protection for farmers against exactly this kind of suburban harassment. She'd highlighted its circled passages in red ink. It was like she was reaching across time, reminding me why we fought to hold on to this land. That night, the hopelessness burned away and something harder settled in my chest. I wasn't leaving. I filed complaints. I set up cameras. The community rallied online. A Facebook group, Support Local Farmers, exploded overnight. My border collie Rex turned into a local legend, barking every time Brenda's Tesla came within half a mile. The kids made an app called Rex Alert, and somehow my dog had a better accuracy rate than the damn weather forecast. What started as my fight was turning into something bigger, a battle between farmland and HOA fascism. Brenda wasn't about to lose. She staged an emergency HOA meeting to ban agricultural machinery within 500 feet of homes, effective immediately. Harvest was weeks away. Without my tractors, 400 grand worth of crops would rot in the fields. She stood there in her designer suit perfume, choking the air, smiling like she'd finally cornered me. "Perhaps you should whisper to your crops, Mr. Hartwell," she said when I pointed out that federal law protected equipment noise. But she hadn't counted on Martha Kowalski. Martha stood up clutching a manila folder like it was a grenade. "Before you vote," she said, "everyone should know Mrs. Thornfield owes $2.3 million to California creditors. This ban isn't about noise, it's about forcing Jack to sell so she can flip his land for a $50,000 kickback." You could feel the room shift. 2 board members abstained and Brenda's resolution died on the spot. That should have been the end, but Brenda doubled down. She tried rezoning my property as residential. She paraded developers through my corn like vultures, promising them I'd be gone by Christmas. But that's when I found the ace up my sleeve. Buried in my grandfather's 1923 homestead papers were senior water rights to Willow Creek, the only water feeding Brenda's villas. First in time, first in right. Legally, I could shut them off tomorrow, leave their swimming pools and sprinklers bone dry. Brenda had no idea the whole community she was selling depended on water she didn't own. And then came the night of fire. At 3:47 a.m., my alarm screamed. Flames engulfed my equipment shed, 3 generations of records, my backups, my tools, all going up in a plume of burning diesel and melting plastic. Security footage showed a man with gas cans hopping out of Brenda's Tesla. By sunrise, the fire marshal confirmed it professional accelerants, multiple ignition points. This wasn't vandalism. This was arson. Attempted murder. While I fought flames, Brenda was across town trying to bribe the county prosecutor with 50 grand to bury my case. What she didn't know was that the FBI already had him wired. Every word of her offering cash, begging him to declare me incompetent, was recorded. By now, she wasn't running an HOA. She was running a criminal enterprise and the feds were circling. The breaking point came when she sent armed security 6 mercenaries in black SUVs onto my land at sunrise. They marched up in tactical gear, waving papers they claimed were emergency HOA enforcement orders. They told me I had 30 minutes to vacate or be arrested for trespassing on my own farm. I laughed right in their faces. The Murphy kids live-streamed the whole thing from the corn rows. Within minutes, 30 neighbors formed a human wall between me and those mercenaries. Sheriff Bradley rolled up with state troopers and gave them 60 seconds to clear out or face arrest. They backed down, but Brenda pulled up in her Tesla screaming about peasants destroying property values. She was live-streamed to 400,000 viewers as she shrieked, kicked a chair, and threatened to bankrupt us all. By the time Monday's town meeting arrived, the whole county was watching. The courthouse overflowed cameras, rolling FBI agents sitting in the back row. Brenda strutted in wearing a pink designer suit, clutching a $1,000 lawyer. She thought this was her coronation. When the judge opened the session, my attorney spread 2 sets of HOA documents across the table, the originals from 2019 and the doctored versions Brenda had filed. Different handwriting, different ink, whiteout marks, clear as day. Mrs. Thornfield falsified government documents, he said, to claim authority over land she never owned. The room gasped. The prosecutor stood and confirmed she was under federal investigation for mail fraud, wire fraud, bribery, conspiracy. Brenda leapt up, face blotchy red, screaming, "These backward farmers are conspiring against progress." Judge Miller banged her gavel. "The Sunset Ridge HOA is hereby dissolved. All actions against Mr. Hartwell are null and void." And then Agent Martinez rose from the gallery, calm as a man ordering coffee. "Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Brenda Thornfield is under arrest for federal crimes including fraud, conspiracy, and interstate racketeering. He cuffed her while she raged about property values, her perfect California mask cracking in front of 400 cheering neighbors and 500,000 live viewers. That was the moment the war ended. Not with me winning, but with her empire collapsing under its own lies. Never forget, bullies thrive when good people stay silent. Stand up, fight back, and watch how fast their house of cards comes crashing down.